That's the problem. For some reason, just this one brake pad in here, we got to jack it up and take the wheel off, and then I can show you more. But this one doggone brake keeps sticking, and it gets so hot you can't touch it. And the only way I discovered that was when I backed up into the lake. You could hear it go psss, and then see the steam coming up off of it. So yeah, that's a pretty good indicator you got a problem that needs addressed, and that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, buddy. That's the fishing poles I got yesterday in a yard sale. 5 for $10, $2 a piece with reels. That's a pretty good deal. So yeah, that gives me about 100 fishing poles and reels, which is not enough, and it's just not enough. I need more. I also bought a shovel for $5. I haggled with them. They wanted $6.50 for it, but I wasn't budging for more than $5, and they broke down. Yeah, it's an actual steel shovel. It's in great shape. The only problem with it, it's all beat up on the end of it here. And I have been looking for a steel shovel like this for a very long time at a lot of the big box stores like Fleet Farm and Home Depot. I haven't been able to find one. They're all aluminum now, or really thin, cheesy metal. So I was happy to find this. I just need to fix it up. And for $5, it's worth it. So I'm going to grind out the end of this, and it'll be a shorter shovel, but it'll be a very useful shovel over the aluminum that I've been getting stuck with. So we'll hit that as soon as we get the boat trailer hopefully fixed. Dang, leave me alone. You never get enough play with this dog. Never. It's never enough. Well, we just got back from a test drive, and we fixed it. It finally got it fixed after 3 days. We worked about 4 hours a day for 3 days, so 12 hours to get this baby fixed. And I know everything there is to know about the braking system of this trailer now. Let me tell you, I didn't know shit before. It's a surge brake trailer. What happens is, as you pull forward, you're pulling your boat down the road, the brakes are disengaged, and there's a little gap in the front receiver part of the trailer where you hook it to your truck. There's a little gap that moves, forward and backwards on it. So as you slow down with the brakes of your truck, that gap closes because the boat is compressing against it, which activates the trailer brakes for this heavy, but it's a heavy boat. And I mean, you could probably get away without brakes on it, but not at an intersection, or if someone pulls out in front of you, you have to stop in a hurry. Yeah, that boat's gonna push you right out into, traffic. It could be bad. So yeah, we want to make sure on a boat this heavy that the braking system works, right? I don't fault anybody that don't, though. It's complex if you've never worked on this type of trailer. I think I've never worked on any brake system anywhere, anytime though. So it was nice to know or have a neighbor like Jay. Those of you that live around here probably know him, but he's just a wonderful guy. I asked him for help. He was all too happy to come over and help me out. So the first day we took the tire off and we kind of broke the back of the, I don't know, the brakes away from the rotor, whatever that thing is that the brake pads go against. Is it called a rotor? I don't know. But it was stuck. And we pried it apart and it seemed to be working again. So, you know, after fooling around with grounding wires all over the trailer, we checked every ground and we emery clothed the grounds down and made sure there was getting good contact. And even in the receiver where you plug your boat into your truck, that was all rusted up, and we had little bits of sandpaper, and we were just sanding those down. We thought it would be something really simple. And so we sanded that down really good, made sure that it was grounded and stuff. It took us a while to figure out that in order for the braking system to work, to disengage the brakes when you back up, because if you don't have, we figured out that power does not go to one of those pins that you plug your truck in unless it's in reverse. That was kind of an hour-long quest to figure that out. Yeah, we have these. He had a multimeter tester, and he kept testing that particular plug, that when you back it up, it disengages the brakes, and it would never go hot. It would never get any juice to it. So we figured out you have to put it in reverse for that particular prong. It's a 5-prong plug on the back of my truck. You had to put it in reverse to get that to disengage the brakes so you could back up. Because unless you have the truck plugged in, you can't back this boat up at all unless you have a little cotter pin that goes between the gap. I'll show you. It's a little pin. Where's that at? There it is. Like this. See that? And this little pin goes in here like that to stop this from moving back and forth. And this disengages the brakes so you can back up if you don't have your vehicle plugged in. So if it's plugged in, it gets juice to it and it disengages the brakes anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. This is only for when it's unplugged. And that took us a while to figure that out. So once we got that figured out, and we got juice to that hole, and we got that all figured out, we got the brake pried loose, we thought, well, maybe it was just a one-off. So we put everything back together again, took it out for a drive, came back, and them hubs were still burning. You couldn't even touch them, they were so hot, because the brake pads are rubbing on it as you're going down the highway. So we ended up taking the whole front end part of the trailer completely apart, looking for the solenoid, or it's like I think it's like a magnet operated. I'm not even sure how this thing works, but we took this whole thing apart completely, and it's just filled with pieces and parts and grommets and pins, and yeah, it was a total pain in the ass, and that took another hour to take it all apart or so, maybe probably longer. I'm thinking like 2-3 hours, like the whole first day. We took this thing completely apart, looking for a problem, and we really couldn't find any, and then we had to figure out how to get it all back together again, which is what we did. And then we started checking every one of these wires, every one of them, to make sure that they were all working properly, and they were. So we managed to get this thing back together again and went from there. So once we started fooling around with that brake controller, caliper, whatever that gizmo is inside of there, you know, brake fluid was just everywhere. So we had to bleed the brakes again, yeah, for the second time. We bled them the first time thinking there was air in the lines and that could have been the problem. Anyway, the whole thing was a cluster. It was a cluster on my part, not Jay's part. He's an organized guy. I'm not. So, you know, I was like, this ain't gonna work. We gotta end up taking it to a trailer shop or something like that. But he was determined. He says, no, we're gonna fix this thing. I'm gonna fix. All I did was be his gopher. Let's just face it. He did all the research, and he had the knowledge, and he'd been doing it his whole life. So he knew kind of like what to do. So after we got that front assembly back on and got it home, after we bled the brakes, we got it home. After we test drove it a second time, it's still burning hot. It still didn't fix it. And we did a whole lot of other trial and error things. And, you know, I used my DeWalt, my pride and joy, my DeWalt impact wrench, and it was too powerful for this. It almost bent the rim of the boat, and it stripped out the nut. It stripped out every single lug nut and the bolts themselves. What do I know? I screwed up, you know. I just like, I want to use this. No. So fortunately for me, I'm a tool junkie. Did you guys figure that out? I'm a toolaholic. So he looked at me, he says, you wouldn't happen to have any tap and die sets, would you? Well, I had to think for a minute. Probably less than a minute. 10 seconds. I was like, yep, I picked them up at Harbor Freight on sale. $79 a case. Metric and SAE. So, yeah. I had them. I never used them. I didn't know how to use them, but I had them. I had to buy them from Harbor Freight because I knew someday I would need them, and today was the day. And them lug nuts and them bolts, they were just all stripped. So we had to retap all of it, which it worked out, you know. And after I put those lug nuts in, I tightened them down so tight, accidentally, because that is not something you should use on a boat trailer. That DeWalt impact wrench is not something yeah. So it started to bend the rim a little bit where the nuts go in. Started to make them a little concave a little bit, so we had to fool around with that too. But yeah, we just created more work for ourselves. But we rectified that situation. The bottom line is, after the third day, we just ripped off the whole braking system to the one tire that was giving us the most problems, and it worked out. It worked out. So he took it apart. It was rusted. It turned out it was stuck solid from years of backing it up in the water. It just got rusty, and it just stuck. It stuck on that rotor. And that was where my problem was. So, long story short, I know how these surge brakes on this trailer work. And I could probably do it myself the next time. If there is a next time. You know, we may have to do the other 3 tires eventually. Maybe sooner than later. Who knows? But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. It's a pain in the ass. But we're back in action. We can go fishing again. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, it's
just grease, I think.
Greasy. I thought that was all sketched up there. Okay, well, that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like it's in that bad a shape, really.
So this brake pad here is stuck to the seat. It won't spin at all. Like the other tires will spin.
Yeah, they're supposed to, yeah. I'll see, what I'm thinking is this caliper. Usually this caliper is what the problem is. See, that goes in and out with this one here. This one here just kind of rides along for the ride, this outer one.
Okay.
And then the center one, when you hit the brakes, pushes this out that way.
Okay.
And then when you let off the brake, it's supposed to retract a little bit. And sometimes they get really rusty and don't retract. But this doesn't look that bad. Well, here's the inner disc brake pad.
Right.
So I got in between the rotor. And I had to take the bleeder, that's the bleeder.
Right.
You gotta loosen that.
Right.
So the air or brake fluid will come out, and then you just pry here and then on the bottom too if you can. And then that pushed this back in there for me.
Right.
Which released the brake.
You know, how can we keep it that way?
But yeah, the thing is now we gotta see why it's locking up there. It shouldn't lock up.
Every time I apply the brakes, it does that.
Yep, and it's got something. I wonder if these have check valves in that brake or not. So I got that one.
So you can't find this anywhere, huh?
I don't know why. Yeah, it's that stuff is great. It works better than anything I've ever found. Anyway. We had some stuff at the railroad called Kroil, K-R-O-I-L, that was similar and actually probably worked better. But you can't buy it. You know, we just can't buy it. It has to be a business type thing. Has to buy it. So they used it. They got it through the railroad there somehow, but I've never seen it anywhere to buy. Get a little bit of this up in there and let her soften up a little bit. I'll maybe go back a little further with that and see.
So this may be a pretty easy fix, you think, huh?
I don't know. I don't see nothing that's wrong here yet. It's acting up, so that's not usually good.
Well, we freed it up like that the last time. when he was here, and we took out the bearings to make sure they were good. So we had it like this.
And then as soon as
he pulled the front out, and as soon as I took it to the lake and back again, it was locked up again.
It did it again then.
So I don't know if we didn't do anything like you said with the back or that valve or anything though, so I don't know.
Well, usually if that's a problem, there'll be air in here. When I
Right.
loosen that up, it'll bubble a little bit, and then fluid through it or whatever, and it did not have any air in it, so I don't see why it would be hooking.
We got the truck hooked up to it. We're gonna check the brake to see if it works. Brakes are on. It's got me holding the brake all the way down to the floor. What? Okay. Okay. Okay, it's just checking the grounds. Sometimes the grounds.
Yep. Sometimes they won't allow electricity through them to. You get problems. I'm working on my truck at home, and I've had every ground on that whole thing off today. Somebody stripped the threads out a little bit with that monster torque wrench.
Yeah, buddy. Yes, we did. But you know, we do have our Harbor Freight tap and die set that comes to the rescue, I think.
Yeah. You're right about that.
So I learned a big lesson about this monster. Yeah, I should have brought the Earthquake out instead of the DeWalt. It doesn't have as much torque, but
Yep.
I do have a torque wrench now, which I bought many, many, many years ago because it was also on sale. And I knew one day I would need it, and today's the day.
Yeah. At that time, film-wise, maybe it was. But yeah, we're just running these nuts back over these threads, the die nut, just to straighten the threads back out.
Now, can we do the same things with the nuts, or do we have to?
Yeah, we can run a tap down on them. Yep, probably wouldn't hurt to do that. And I'll let you do that when I'm working on the brake here, but okay. I thought I'd do these quick here. So
What are you trying to do to the brake? You taking the caliper off?
I'm gonna take the caliper off and see if the piston is seized in it, and I think that's what's wrong with it, probably. Yeah, this is a caliper. Sometimes this piston will get stuck in there. This one's got metal ones. All the ones that I was looking at online had plastic ones in here, but in cars too, they get a little bit of rust in there, and then they get stuck. Well, we had to take the caliper off because the brakes were binding, and we took it apart, and we did run across this problem.
Oh.
It got water in there, evidently, through the seal here part. And it's all rusty and was stuck in there, so now we gotta take it way out apart. We're just gonna clean this up good, hopefully, and hopefully reuse it. So
Reassembly.
yeah, I'm getting ready to put it back together if we can get that plunger in there tonight.
Okay, we got that back in. We pounded, managed to get that. What is that called?
Yeah, we cleaned it off. That's a disc brake plunger, I guess, for
And
the
it just fits just
for the caliper.
yeah,
So.
perfectly in there. So this was what was froze up.
Yep, this here cylinder. Well, it's a what do they call it? A brake. It's a brake caliper piston.
Brake caliber piston.
Is an
And
official
it was
word
stuck
for it.
inside of here. Is this supposed to turn or something in there?
No, it pushes it out. When it gets hydraulic pressure in here, it'll push this out.
Oh.
And that pushes your disc runs in here, your rotor, and then that'll push your disc pads or your brake pads against the rotor that runs through here, kind of like so. Yep. Makes your fingers better when you do that and stuff. Get your thumb back a little bit if you can.
What?
Yeah. Push it back in. Push back in easy. It should work. We got her. Here's the inner brake. This brake. It's got that's what that spring thing does. It helps it hold together. This was the outside one.
And this was jammed.
This piston here was stuck.
Okay.
So it probably pushed out, put pressure on your brakes, and then it stuck there. And that's why we couldn't get the pressure to come off, basically. So, yep, so we can put this all back together. Okay. Pull back on that.
I'm going to use this ratchet strap here. This gap here, when you push back on the trailer or back your trailer up, that engages the brake fluid, which is right here. See that? And that's how we're going to bleed the brakes, just by putting pressure on this. So I'll just crank this like, yeah, you get it, and then he'll bleed the brakes. All the way back.
I think we got good several times.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
okay, it's back out. You want me to crank it back again? Okay, it's all the way back now. Okay, back out. Okay, tighten it back up again. Yep. Yeah, I'm getting the hang of it now. It's getting easier to do.
is it? Yeah, once you get used to it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, it's tight again.
Lauren's repaired me here, so that really makes me wonder if anyone else in there.
Right.
One down. That one over there. This one. Yeah.
It's fixed. Finally fixed.